guys, it's Reagan and welcome to the start of another reading vlog. This reading vlog I'm very excited for because I'm actually going to be reading my October book club pick. We're doing a little bit of horror, a little bit of fantasy, and I'm so looking forward to reading this book along with you guys and also my online book club, which I will have linked down below. But without further ado, let's go ahead and chat about the two books I hope to read over the course of this vlog, or the book I hope to read from start to finish, and a book, you know, if I have time to tack on. You get the idea. So the two books on my TBR for this video is first An Academy for Liars by Alexis Henderson. This is a dark academia fantasy horror novel by this author. I've read other books by Alexis Henderson, so I'm really looking forward to her newest release. And again, this is the book club pick for my Cozy Seasons book club. If I finish that and have time, I do also want to continue my read of The Bitter Twins. I've barely started this book, but this is book 2. The first one being The Ninth Reign by Jen Williams. Such an interesting mix of fantasy tropes going on here, and I just want to continue on with the series before I forget stuff. But number one priority, secondary priority. As you can see, fall reads are truly in full swing, and I feel like I'm thriving within it. So yes, welcome to the start of this vlog. I'm quite literally gonna make some tea right now, and we're gonna sit down and start An Academy for Liars. I want to get a good little reading session in. So let's get started. Hi friends, I did a little reading sprint in the guest room, and I'm happy to report I read a quick 88 pages of An Academy for Liars by Alexis Henderson. And I'm into the vibe of this book. And here's the thing, reading this, I can discern that this book might not be for everyone, just because objectively everyone has different tastes and preferences. But this book I think might have elements that might be a little more controversial, or based off your reading preferences, you might have a stronger reaction to if you don't like these things. Basically, this book is definitely going to center like bad people making bad decisions, and not like, oh, I'm reading about a villain who's doing villainous things. It's more like, it's more gray area than that, like people who are manipulating other people or are being manipulated, or like we're having to read and follow various toxic relationships, perhaps main characters making unlikable choices that we don't fully understand or we recognize are bad for them, but they're sort of self-spiraling in a way that just sort of propels the story further. Basically, not everything in this book might be likable, but I don't think things in this book are going to be romanticized either. Like, I think the author is showcasing some very toxic things, but not necessarily being like, and it's so romantic. It's like, nah, this stuff is dark and kind of messed up, but like, so is our main character, and so is the concept of this book. But take a step back. This is Alexis Henderson's like dark academia horror novel. And we're following our main character, Lennon. At the beginning of this book, her life is very much spiraling out of control. We actually find her at a very, very low point. She's engaged, about to be married to a man she does not want to be married to. And due to a variety of circumstances, she finds herself in this like abandoned parking lot where she receives a mysterious phone call in an empty telephone booth letting her know that her application to attend this university was accepted. She's confused because she never applied to a university. But she's then told that everyone's applied. Your application begins at birth, but she has made it to the next round, and she has like 12 hours to get to the interview location. She has to get there right away. Obviously, our main character, Lennon, has no concept of stranger danger. Like, she doesn't really think through that this is weird, strange, like maybe I shouldn't be doing this. No. She goes to the next location, obviously. But again, that's sort of the vibe of the story. Like, Lennon, our main character, is making bad choices, but they're interesting bad choices, you know? So she goes, she takes this examination, and she gets admitted into this university, which there's one thing in common amongst all of the students, is that these people are persuasive, like quite literally able to persuade people to do things for them. And here Lennon begins to take classes, and she also begins to form this relationship with one of the professors named Dante, and just in general get involved around campus. So far, the vibes of this book have really pulled me in. Lennon as a main character, I feel like roots the story well. She is compelling. Understanding her and like peeling back her character is kind of like an onion, like understanding her impulses, why she's making the choices she's making. It's all very murky. It's all very mysterious. She is clearly very flawed, very hurt. And the author also does this great thing, I feel like, with the narrative style, because this book is horror. She like presents seemingly normal situations, but then there'll just be like this eerie turn to it, like a little bit of body horror, a little bit of like something really disturbing just like thrown in, which just kind of like keeps you off balance as you're reading the book, as you're not quite sure like what to expect or who to trust maybe. And also true dark academia fashion. So far, seemingly all the relationships seem to be propelled by not necessarily the greatest motivations, power, interest, boredom, pursuit of something. So far, none of the relationships that Lennon is beginning to form or be involved with at the point I'm in the book, I wouldn't say are like, yeah, that's a good choice. But like, again, dark academia horror. That's sort of what the vibe can be sometimes. Like, these people are very flawed. And again, Lennon is making some very questionable decisions, but it's also very, very interesting, very dark. Definitely a lot of trigger warnings in this book. There's, I think, a hint at like a professor-student relationship, which again, I normally would never be like, oh yeah. So like a professor-student situation, and this is where Alexis Henderson's writing like gets me, because like normally I would hate this. If this was like presented in just like a normal romance, I'd be like, this isn't good, guys. But it's like so toxic, and you know it's toxic, but she's almost like playing on the toxic part of yourself that's like, girl, you shouldn't be doing this, but also you're like peeking through your fingers. You're like, what's gonna happen though, you know? And I just feel like that is what's so fun about these like dark academia horror books, because the morality of the situation is questionable. The morality of this campus, of the school, questionable. I got a lot of questions. I have way more questions than answered about our main character, about this university, about her classes, but I'm looking forward to seeing her start attending this school. Attending these classes is cool. It's giving magic school vibes. And then just like all of the various situations we find her in, it's just like, what? I gotta read more, you know? But anyway, so far so good. I flew through the first 88 pages of this. It's definitely like a very intoxicating read. And I'm looking forward to reading more later tonight. Dinner tonight, I fear, is gonna be so scrumptious. It's also like one of those beautiful things where I'm just trying to get rid of some produce I need to use. So it's going to be, I'm making a salad. I'm gonna roast some sweet potatoes. I'm gonna make, I think, a little bit of a sort of chimichurri situation. What else? Oh, I have green beans I need to use up. Hi, Clay. Sweet potatoes. I also have a ribeye steak. I know. It's Monday, but we're going wild. Dinner is served. Little chimichurri, roasted sweet potatoes with the goat cheese, little balsamic salad. None for you, Millie. Time to go eat. So catching up with my girly pops in Salt Lake. There's Millie. We're just having a relaxing night in, you know? Good morning, everyone. Let's have some coffee. Let's do some more reading. This morning, I do have an eye doctor appointment, so we're just gonna see how much I'm gonna be able to read before I inevitably, you know, need to go get my eyes checked. Hi friends, good morning. I have quite the reading update I need to give you because I've actually read a lot of the Academy for Liars. This book reads really quickly. It very much is a style of story that like pulls you in. It's very hypnotic. It's toxic in a way that makes it difficult to put down. I've already talked about how our main character is basically enrolled in this university for like mind control, and it's established pretty quickly that like this university feels very sketchy. Like the origins of it and the amount of information they're giving their students in terms of like consequences or how the magic works or like what they're training them for or like what do they do after they graduate is all very murky. And our main character obviously was just kind of looking to flee her past life. So she's not necessarily super interested in like digging up those answers. She's just interested in like passing her classes. With that in mind, we do definitely have like a dark academia magic school-esque part of this book because we're following our main character as she attends classes, try to understand like these various concepts that they teach. She gets involved in like a secret society, and she's also beginning to grow closer with her advisor, Dante, who is very mysterious and very hot. As you would expect, am I right? Lennon is an interesting main character in that she is like passive she's sort of like messed up cool girl sort of energy. Like she's clearly beautiful. She clearly has bad habits with men and relationships with men. She has bad grip on reality. She struggles with her mental health. Like, she has patterns that she tries to pull herself out of. I will say though, I feel like a part of this book is hopefully her breaking those patterns and like coming into her own power and her individual pursuit of power. Lennon as a main character struggles with the morality of some of the aspects surrounding this magic and the decisions she has to make to pursue it. And as like more questions begin to arise on like what happens to you when you use this magic, and like it begins to become clear that there is a hidden legacy at this school, and also like possible outside forces too. Like, it's murky and unclear, but on purpose, I think. I've been interested to learn everything. There is very much clearly hot for teacher plotline of this book, and I know that's not gonna be for everyone, and I totally get that because there is like a power dynamic there. I will say power and power dynamics are like a central theme of this book, so I do feel like it sort of fits in thematically. But Dante is like kind of likable, so like I don't really know like how to feel about anything, but I won't deny that it is pretty entertaining to read. Like, two things can be true at once. All that to say is I'm about halfway through. I have more questions than answers. I feel like the first part of this book was stronger writing style wise than maybe the second quarter of this book. The intro felt very strong on the darkness and the strangeness and the school, and Lennon as a main character felt very intangible in like a very successful way. Second quarter of this book, still good, and it's been kind of a little info dumpy in terms of like setting up the school. I don't mind that, but I feel like the vibiness has been turned down a bit, which I feel like for this book to be like a slam dunk, it needs to maintain, it's crucial that it maintains its like darky, eerie vibes, you know? But like, if you want a book that centers a bunch of students making really terrible decisions, secret society, late night, you know, initiations, careless and reckless drug use, trying to open up your mind to be able to manipulate people for your own motivations, check it out, you know? And that's definitely all happening within this story. Oh, and obviously Lennon has a bit of a chosen one. She has a specific set of powers that are very unique to her. We're watching her trying to unlock that, you know? Obviously. So anyway, I hope to read more today. I've got a lot of other stuff I need to do, but still, this has been a vibe. It's definitely very fall vibes. It's more dark academia than I was even expecting, which I like. And there is still that like subtle sprinkle of body horror and like thriller through it too that I feel like also is working well. It's entertaining nevertheless, and I am, you know, wanting to read more. I did a little Halloween shoot for these Snoopy plates. And I made these like minion mummy pigs in a blanket. So probably not the best lunch, but also technically my lunch for the day. Hot dogs. Sometimes it'd be like that, you know? It's like the witching hour of the afternoon, I like to say. It's the weirdest part of the day. It's 4 p.m. But I'm making myself a little afternoon snack. So we have some freshly washed grapes, and I also have some beautiful strawberries. So I'm gonna cut up a couple of these and enjoy. And I also think I'm gonna do more of my reading of my book. It's getting quite dramatic in a good way. Let me wash some of these. And I'm just very curious to see like what is gonna happen next, you know? Also, aspects of this book are really fun because the romance is like intrinsically problematic, but also really fun. Like, I know I'm not supposed to like it as much as I do, and yet here I am. This book is kind of absurd, but also in ways that like I love. Like if you've read A Discovery of Witches, if you've read honestly like aspects of Twilight, if you've read some like other urban fantasy books where there's just like it somehow like on paper, right, Conehead Millie? On paper it shouldn't work. Well, on paper it might work. And then when you read it you're like tee hee hee, even though you should be like, that's kind of how I feel reading this book. So I'm having a good time is what I'm trying to say. But I also recognize that some people might read this and be like, no. You know? Guys, I need to do a haul of what is so random. It's such a random thing I bought. It's so heavy. But I literally love them so much. Okay, so I saw these at a store in Vermont and they had an online store. So I ended up buying them for our backyard. If I can get it open. Okay, so I bought these rock ducks for our backyard. But hold on, it's a whole family of rock ducks. So here's a baby. Look at him in their feet. Here's the mom. Whoa, she's heavy. Ooh, she's different. I like that. Okay. We got the mom, and then the ducks, the baby ducks, follow her. Okay, and I have one more baby in here. Sometimes being an adult is buying rock sculptures that look like abstract ducks. They tickled me so much. They're so funny. Look at them. The best money I've spent in ages, to be honest. Look at my rock duck family. Oh my God, these are gonna hit so hard in my backyard. They're so funny. I love them. I just didn't have it in me to cook, and neither did Clay. So sometimes you just gotta pick up some good old-fashioned Pete's Harry's and eat it while watching The Real Housewives of New York City. You know what I mean? Catching up on The Real Housewives of New York City. And I've impulsively decided to restart my Animal Crossing island. I have not been on my island in well over a year, because I've made some structural changes to it that I ended up hating, and I was like, I've been indecisive about starting over now for a long time, and I finally feel empowered to start over, and it's gonna be great, and I'm gonna enjoy the fall leaves. Me and Tom are gonna reconnect. It's gonna be perfect. First off, I went to the dentist this morning, no cavities, everything was looking really good, they said, which is the best feedback I've ever gotten at the dentist. 2, also very exciting, I'm in the process of making butternut squash soup. I'm roasting various squash. I'm also making some croutons to put on top. Texas has a cold front, so obviously I immediately needed to make soup. It's like 70 degrees, that's a cold front for us. It feels so good outside. So we got soup, I went to the dentist. I'm gonna sit down and do more reading now. I'm page 300 of my book, I wanna say, so we're making some headway. I'd like to be almost finished by today. That's my goal. So I will keep y'all posted with that. But yeah, honestly today, I feel like today is my day. Clay and I are going on a little concert date later tonight. We're going to see Vampire Weekend. I have faith that today is going to set the precedent for many days to come. Good vibes, good vibes. Look how stunning this homemade butternut squash soup turned out. I did a little garlic crouton with some pesto. And look at all of this leftover soup I have. Oh, I literally love fall. I love fall. I love soups. I love squash. I love fall. Is that right, Conehead Matilda? And I am gonna try to get a bunch of reading in before I must go and be social. I got very fall. I changed again, as I do throughout the day. I'm looking at my rock ducks. Oh, I love my rock ducks. Clay and I went out and we were like, where should we put our ducks? We have many options. We're trying to narrow it down. I'm gonna change again actually for the concert because this will be too warm, but I wanted to enjoy my cozy sweater while I can because again, the weather is impeccable and we never have weather like this, so I just need to like embrace it, you know what I mean? I've changed for the concert. This plaid skirt is making another feature because I'm in love with it. But I was able to read another 50 pages of An Academy for Liars, and like, you know what? Let me set you down. I'm having such a fun time with this. I like the intensity of the school setting. I like the rivalries. I like the flimsy sort of friendships that feels very to the genre for dark academia. I like the dramatic, over-the-top, will they, won't they romance, which I shouldn't on any planet be rooting for, but secretly in my heart of hearts, I'm like having a good time. And I just feel like this book is playing on all my toxic loves because the book itself is like toxic. And I think it's like playing with those ideas and pulling things from the genre, and it's just making like a really fun, vibey fall read. I wouldn't say so far at least that it's perfect. I feel like the writing style was really strong in the beginning. It fell off a bit, but in terms of making the plot like really fast paced, super engaging in terms of like twists and turns and having small reveals, but then keeping us pulled in with like new mysteries like constantly over and over again. There's like shocking moments of violence, there's shocking betrayals, there's like all these things that just like keep you hooked. And I feel like given that most of the characters in this story are intriguing, but not necessarily the most likable given how flawed they are, I still feel like Alexis Henderson has you committed and pulled in with the themes and just like the direction of the book. And don't get me wrong, like I do like Lennon. Like I want Lennon to make some life changes, but I like her, you know what I mean? And I feel like that is an interesting line to walk. I just think I'm a sucker for an academy, school setting, you know, classrooms, finals, these types of things. It's just fun. And I think the magical education of this is really unique in its like persuasion. I wish there was a bit more world building on like how exactly this style of magic works. There's some contemplation by our main character as she tries to like filter through why she's successful sometimes, unsuccessful other times, and like as she's growing her powers. I wish there was almost like more info dumping for the magic system, in part because I think it's just interesting, but I also feel like it would add a little more oomph to the story and the believability of the things that are going on. I like the Southern Gothic setting. I love this hot tattooed professor with who's grumpy with an anger problem. Like, honestly, right, Matilda? It's just like a good time. It's a fall reading, you know? And that's that. And that is that. But here's a closer look at my outfit. I'm wearing sneakers. And here are the boxes we're saving for a landscaping project we're doing this weekend. Enjoy. But we're about to head out, meet up some friends, get like a beer before the show, then go to the show, and then I come home, and then I'm gonna continue to play Animal Crossing into the wee hours of the night. But I'm on track to finish my book tomorrow. Definitely read more tonight. We'll see, we'll see. I was hoping I would be able to read more of my other book that I had set aside for this video. This week was like weird, I don't know. I had a lot of doctor's appointments. We had some things come up around the house as it happens, but that's okay. That's all right. Good morning. Let's try to sit down, Millie. No Cohenhead Millie this morning. Let's try to sit down and finish my book this morning. Yay! It's getting so intense, so I feel like this end sequence is gonna be wild. Secrets are being revealed this morning in my book. Things are definitely coming to a head. I have about 75 pages left, and I do feel like Alexis Henderson's really catering to my specific love of toxic men in literature and media. It's like so many red flags, and yet I don't care. To be fair, Lennon has a lot of red flags too, which maybe makes them like a perfect match made. I will say there's been a bit of a transition from a setting point of view. Aspects of it I really enjoy, but I feel like some of the dark academia stuff that was like thriving in the first half kind of backburnered a bit. But the secrets of the school, or some of the secret history of the school, is starting to be revealed, but I still feel like I have so many questions. I'm also wondering if this is going to be a series, because I think that could be quite good. She's only in her first year. Like, there could be so much more. But honestly, I'm just having a really good time. Like, I don't know. I think I was like very much in the mood for something like this. It's like a little bit scary, a little bit spooky, a little bit toxic, but it's not over the top in like any one direction where I'm feeling really, really, really freaked out, which I appreciate. And just like, I'm so curious, like what in the world is going to happen? Like, I feel like every time I pick this book up, I read like an easy 80, 90 pages. It's just like, huh? What? Who? Where? And I also feel like because characters are kind of toxic, the author doesn't have to waste time with like making them nice. So like treating their family well, treating each other well, explaining things. They can just kind of have like dramatic glances and, you know, cool statements to each other that makes them intriguing and mysterious and like attractive, which kind of speeds the plot along because there doesn't have to be like that much dialogue. You know what I mean? Like no one really has to get to know each other. They can just sort of vague and questioning of each other, which passes the vibe, you know? In other news, it's time for breakfast. Clay and I are staunchly in our yogurt bowl era. So I'm gonna put some of those together. They're so good. I think about them all morning. Cheers. Pesto mozzarella grilled cheese, loading, and I'm reheating some of my butternut squash soup from yesterday. Supreme combo. I'm excited. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at that. Look at this. Ugh. Ugh, incredible. Yes, I am wearing the same sweater from yesterday. Don't judge me. But I just finished up all my work. So I'm gonna sit down and try to finish An Academy for Liars. I have like none left. Also, I made myself a latte in this pumpkin mug, so very appropriate for the season, if I do say so myself. I think it rained a bit earlier. We might get a little bit more rain. So, you know, a perfect ambiance for the end of my Dark Academia book. I think that also means I can at least get a little bit into my other read for this vlog, which is a sequel to a fantasy series I'm really enjoying. Obviously, I don't intend to get too far before I, you know, end this vlog, but I will be happy with finishing even just one book. Even just one. So, let's read. I got to the twist, or one of them. It was good. It got me. It got me. Matilda wanted to let you know that I finished. This last sequence, crazy, truly. I'm gonna ponder my thoughts and feelings, and then I will do a complete wrap up and wrap up this vlog soon. Hi, and welcome to the end of the vlog. The next day, I'm happy to report I finished the entirety of An Academy for Liars by Alexis Henderson, which, as a quick reminder, is my book club book. And if you guys want to join my book club, I will have that linked down below. But overall, I really liked this book. For me, this book was very much a vibe. I enjoyed the twists and turns. I definitely wouldn't say it was perfect. Aspects of the world building and some of the characterization definitely wasn't fully fleshed out. And in particular, I wish there was a greater emphasis on explaining the nuances of the magic system in particular, and really focusing and describing like how that really worked. I feel like that could have added a really interesting technical aspect of this, which would have fit into the larger like Dark Academia theme of the story. That being said though, I was pretty dang entertained about this book all the way through. I feel like it really captured my attention. It didn't drag too much at any point in time in terms of like, okay, it wasn't, at no point did I feel like I was slogging through the story. I found the romantic aspect of this book to be pretty good, and it definitely, like, elements of the story definitely caught me off guard and by surprise, which I appreciated. Not everything was like super predictable, but the elements of this book that are like tried and true to its Dark Academia roots, I felt like were also a lot of fun. In some ways, I almost wish she was like more over the top in the unlikable, dark, and murky aspects of this book, particularly with some of the friendship elements and just our main character Lennon's paranoia and how at times she felt like she couldn't trust her own perspective, and therefore the reader was supposed to feel the same. Like, I almost wish the author pushed that even further to add like additional drama to the overall story. But honestly, as I said, this book was just like really entertaining. It isn't the best thing I've ever read, but it definitely was like pretty dang good, especially for this time of year. And I have no regrets picking this book up at all. I liked the characters for what they were trying to do in terms of them being likable, not necessarily, but in terms of how they function in the story, I liked it. I liked the setting, I liked the concepts, I liked how everything culminated, I liked a lot of the reveals. So like overall, I would say just a very successful story in terms of like entertainment value. And it was really good. So yeah, another vibey fall read is officially in the books, but I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog and I will see you soon with another one soon. Goodbye.